Lodget, and my special guest today is executive producer of a Little Mandarin music album, Toni Wang. Toni is a mother of 3 children and also the vocalist for this Little Mandarin album. And then we're very excited to have her here to share her experience with us to create how she created this project and also how she used this music to help kids not only just understand the Chinese music, but also learning about the language itself. When I read about Toni and listened to her music, I thought about the choir, the musical theater, and then the band, and also some technology work she has done. It's a pretty fascinating and it's very interesting. And Toni, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Amanda, for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. And I think the most important thing is this music CD, A Little Mandarin, is very, very fun to listen to because it's not just for kids. I think even parents will really enjoy. It's upbeat, it's fun to sing along, and actually it is kind of fun to maybe dance along and wiggle along as well. So I think when we first start the interview, I would like to see if you can sing a very cute song I found in the album, Find a Friend, for us.
Sure, let's start it off. 你好
Yes.
找呀找呀找朋友，找到一个好朋友，金格里要握手，你是我的好朋友。找呀找呀找朋友，找到一个好朋友，金格里要握手，你是我的好朋友。找呀找呀找朋友，
Wow.
A morning boost, right?
I like it. I think it's so fun because the beat and also the tempo, and it makes you feel like you like a wiggle along. Do you find your kids do that as well?
Oh, definitely. I think part of the reason I loved working with these songs is that actually the subject matter pairs well with the musical styles and the vision that I had in my mind. And the funny story for this one is that, it's a very clubby dance beat, correct? And
Yes.
in my old days of youth, I did enjoy dancing in clubs, and I love that kind of music, the bass, the drums, the beat. And I thought, well, how funny in clubs for adults, for parents who used to do that. That's where they try to go meet friends, right?
Absolutely.
Find a friend. And so I thought that's a nice background, even for kids, because it's so lively and so great for movement that, hey, this is a great idea of moving along, finding new friends, and kind of just having fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think another thing is like parents can use a tool like this. They can use all kind of things at home, pencil, pen, a bowl, or even some kind of box, and to create their own music and sing along.
Oh, yes. So, for instance, egg shakers were widely used at our home for many, many years, and even the rattle drum. The rattle drum, I gave away my last two to friends. So, yes, exactly.
Anything you have can work. Yes, seriously. Yeah, so, I think you hit a very important point. A lot of times, when parents think about when we were younger, we were in the club, we were dancing, then now we're teaching kids, we become very serious.
Right.
And so I think, this kind of music actually remind the parents that you can be fun too, dance along and have fun with the kids and enjoying the learning process.
Yes, and I think one of the things that I feel that people may have a misconception just from hearing from friends who are in class or in a Chinese immersion school that Chinese, oh, it's so hard. And it is one of the most challenging languages in the world. But if we could put a fun angle, especially at the kid level, then they just become more interested instead of grunting and saying, oh, I have to go to Chinese school, So making the experience more modern, more fun, and incorporating anything, technology, music, art, whatever you can to engage the children.
Absolutely. I think it's very interesting you mentioned, like, you want to try to I take this as a very different angle, make it a kind of fun angle, use different technology to create different tools for the kids to learn instead of just maybe just sitting in the classroom and learn the language. And then sometimes, a lot of times because people don't understand, if Chinese is a very difficult, is that because it's a tonal language? Is it because the writing and reading, the writing system is very different? Or actually, it can be it's an easy language when we talk about there are no verb conjugations and things like that. And people is like, oh, I never heard about that. So actually, when you are creating this album, this music, actually a lot of songs I've heard before. It's very traditional, but you actually come up with. Wait, how did you come up with the idea with a Little Mandarin? Actually, Mandarin is the language Mandarin, and also the little cutie orange we eat Mandarin. So how do you combine both and to make this as a creative project for yourself?
It just started as a basic need as a mom. I was looking for something that's similar, actually. So I have in front of me, these are some book/CD combinations, beautifully produced, very simple. One is called Chanson et Ronde, a chanson drôle, fun kid music, but beautiful too. Lullabies, and those were in French that were gifted by my mother-in-law. She found them in Quebec, and I just thought it was so well made that we did not tire of hearing it, and the kids would automatically, when they were really young, they would automatically pick up the language and enjoy the music, and I enjoy the music too. So I just wanted to create something similar, and I just was not able to find anything because a lot of the market, whether they're in China, or, to be honest, I haven't found any, great ones outside of China, Taiwan also. That I thought, this is just an opportunity for me to use my passion for music and just combine it and do something fun for my family. And it really just came from a personal need. The funny thing about the Little Mandarin title is that my husband helped me create that title. I was thinking of names, and I was looking up, actually, the word Mandarin actually can mean 3 ways. It's the language, it's the fruit, which is also very symbolic in Chinese culture, but it's also the person, the Mandarin, who used to be, the civil service.
Correct.
And there was very much about the level of education and scholarship back in Imperial China. So a triple entendre, and it just seemed like a perfect little fit. And he gave me the idea, not necessarily of the title, but using the very sun-kissed orange with a sticker. So that's how it came about, and it just came from my need as a mom to have music for my kids.
Right, and then I think the other thing is like just we talk about, a lot of songs, they are traditional Chinese children's songs, but actually you gave them a different feeling, a different style. It's like a modern, upbeat, joyful, and I think that's a very creative way to do it. And I love to see how all moms get creative ideas, from other products and also like from other languages, because you have the input of the French, and then you think about how we can do it in Mandarin. And I think that's really, really fun to know, how you came up with the idea. And it seems like this is a family joint effort because your husband is also a part of the whole process, and I believe your children are as well.
Yes, and I think, just from our personal family experience, we listen to music across the board, different genre, whether it be pop, rock, rap, hip hop. And I just thought that even looking at the, children's music scene, and one of actually my personal inspirations is part of my background and bio is that we lived in Laurie Berkner's house when we first came to the United States. Mm-hmm. And she is one of the premier, the queen of Hindi music, and I love her stuff. But just looking at all the very well-respected bands out there. I didn't see necessarily every style that I personally liked. For instance, I'm a very big fan of electronic music,
Mm-hmm.
and even the more dance, EDM music. And I think that's something that I wanted to add to the landscape. And also, when I thought of the songs, it just somehow it just came into my mind. Each song, there was a pretty clear vision. Like, okay, make a phone call. I think I know what that should be like. And Two Tigers, let's go way beyond just, the usual offerings of Frere Jacques, and I actually thought of, ska and Gwen Stefani, and I thought that's a really fun, you just want to move your body to it, and
Yes.
going away from the lullaby version.
Right. And also your Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and then Happy Birthday. I think it's you give it a different style, and I think that's actually a lot of fun for the family to sing along and together. Definitely, I can see all different styles coming in, and then all the creative ideas that you have, to actually put into this whole album. And you're a mother, you're a music lover, and you are the vocalist for a Little Mandarin music album. You are raising your children in Mandarin Chinese, French, and English in the United States. What is your family language combination? And could you share with us your trilingual parenting experience?
Yes. Again, actually, I would have to say that we started right at the birth of our first kid, and Zoe, and we kind of agreed, my husband and I, that we can't lose the language aspect. And he was actually a very strong proponent of, you must speak Chinese and I will speak French. And we try our best. And of course, over the years, and as they get older and we have to instruct more and through discipline, whatever, and educating them, that sometimes, of course, English will be using the language that my husband and I communicate in. But when I speak, I try to speak 80% Chinese, I would say, and for him as well. And another big aspect is having my mom around since the very beginning, and she was a big helper. She was basically my main helper for quite a long time, and she definitely spoke to the kids. And the funny thing I should mention is that when kids respond, and this is something that I would say I was not as good about, is making them respond in the same language, because their minds are very interesting. They will speak, for instance, to my mother-in-law in French, but it's because she doesn't really speak it in English. So, but if they know that I speak English and my husband does, the response is generally in English. And that's where I feel like in our personal journey, we will have to incorporate other things like experiences, summers abroad, or classes, or if we get to a point of school and immersion, that would be great too. So at our home, it is, I would say, I don't know any specific breakdown, but Chinese definitely more. I'm more present, my mom, and now we have a nanny who definitely is speaking. She doesn't speak English, so that's helpful. And my husband being less around, that there's less. But when we go on trips and go to Quebec, they can communicate. They have to communicate with their grandmother. So, but it's something that we just started from the beginning, and I'm not perfect about it at all. So it's always something that I need to improve on, and I have to catch myself to do.
Right. It's like creating the need to speak the language and create an environment for them. I think you actually are putting all the things together, and I think that's sometimes it's difficult to have the grandparents to be with us, and sometimes when they're present in the family, and then it's definitely very beneficial for the target language or the heritage language we try to pass on to the children. So I think you're very lucky to have that, and then at the same time I think you're also include more people who can speak the can speak the heritage language, the target language at home. And I think that's definitely something we would like to create, even for parents who don't speak that target language. I think music and different CD or programs, TV programs, audio programs, or now internet programs, can be very helpful for the parents. And so I think you mentioned something very interesting. You talk about immersion program or send the kids to have a trip to China. Have you done that? And then do you find that's something like a booster for the kids to keep speaking Mandarin Chinese?
We have not, and this coming up summer is probably going to be hopefully our first summer in China, because I've taken them there. We went a couple of times because my grandmothers, up till about fall of 2012, they were still around. They were in their 90s, but so I make it a point. We had always taken trips. Went in 2010. That was the last trip. But because the youngest was very young, just traveling with 3 kind of was out of the question for a while. But now that he's coming up on 5, I think we will definitely go there this summer. And I have still family, lots of cousins, and my aunts are still there. So my old house is still there in Shanghai.
Right. Well, I always feel an immersion trip or a trip to the country that have your target language. I think that's always something very important for the kids, and actually they're going to open their eyes to realize that there are so many people speaking their language. For you, Mandarin Chinese, for me as well, Mandarin Chinese, and also when you go to Quebec, people are speaking French. I think that's eye-opening for the kids to see, I speak the language, I can talk to people, I can do a lot of things on my own, and I can communicate. I think that's kind of it's almost like a celebration of their learning journey, so I think that's something very important. So I wish you have a great trip with your family this coming summer.
Thank you.
Yeah, at the same time, we're talking about, your recording of the music, the Little Mandarin Chinese Children's Classics album. In the music, obviously we can tell a lot of digital music, but at the same time, there are different instruments in there. And then how do you decide what music instruments to use and to, bring up the spirit of your A Little Mandarin album?
Well, this is where I think it's kind of hard for me to describe my creative process. It's just in my head. I kind of see it, but I'm not actually professionally trained as a musician. So I instantly thought of someone, and this is my very first producer, who did a very old demo of mine when I was a singer-songwriter wannabe in New York back in the late 90s. And his name is Woody Pack. He's a pretty well-known Korean-American producer, and to me, he's basically, he's a one-man band. He can do everything, and of course, his main skill and forte is composition and arrangement. He's done a lot of music scores, and he also went to Juilliard on a jazz guitar scholarship. So he put down some guitar, piano, and live drums when we were in the studio, but the rest of the instrumentation and arrangement was done actually, in Pro Tools, which is a software, and that, along with the synthesizer and the live instruments, creates everything that we ever need. And he did it beautifully, efficiently, and it's just amazing.
That is, I think now I see the marriage between the music and technology. Actually, they are never separated. They can always be together. And then I think, yeah, I can tell everybody, because my kids, even though they're older, they're 9 and 11, when they listen to the album, they basically, I was listening to the album, and they jumped up and then came in and said, hey, what are you listening? And they start to wiggle and they have fun. They went out, they came back again. And I think that's the spirit of the music. It doesn't matter what language, doesn't matter, what it is, but when it's catchy, when it's joyful, delightful, I think it will inspire everybody. I think for this album, A Little Mandarin, Chinese children's classics, I think all the songs, I think the parents, the children, the teachers in the classroom would all enjoy, and then I think it's a great tool. And so, one last question I have for Toni, I would like to know, what's your best advice for parents who are also on the bilingual parenting journey?
I think, and this is only my opinion, but I think it's hard to define one thing. But I think immersing yourself as much as possible, whether it's music or books. I was going to say that actually we have a whole shelf of Chinese books, but these are very worn out Chinese books that they just started reading, and I read to them when they were 1 year old. So just immersing them in as many experiences, even food. We live in New York City, and going to Chinatown, going to experiences that kind of round out the whole life experience. Because when you think about a language or someone else in, say, China, it's from morning till night. So whether it's getting up, brushing teeth, going for a meal, all the way to bedtime, and that's how we learn language, really. So having a whole experience, however many components you can bring in during the day that can help you live in this other language. So it's not just learning the language, but live in that language and live in that culture, then that's the best way to impart that culture and language, I think.
Absolutely. Toni, thank you. I think you experienced your own bilingual journey when you came to the States when you were a young girl. I think you probably have that a part of you, and then, to kind of inspire you to share all that with your children. The language goes hand in hand with culture. When we are learning a language, we are learning a culture. And we're talking about Chinese Lunar New Year is coming. I think there's always a great celebration in New York and in a lot of cities. So I think what parents can do is bring their kids, take your kids to a culture event and to experience the culture, and then you will see how they will be inspired to learn more about the target language. Thank you very much, Toni, for joining us today. It has been wonderful to hear your wonderful songs from your album, A Little Mandarin Chinese Children's Classics, and then sharing your trilingual parenting experience with us. We wish you good luck, and we definitely are looking forward to your next release.
Thank you so much, Amanda. We love the Miss Panda Chinese videos and your material as well. And I think, let's make this more fun, and let's move this forward.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And go to Miss Panda Chinese website, and then to participate in the giveaway for A Little Mandarin music album. You're definitely going to love it and join it with your children. And like I always say, let's always keep learning fun. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. 谢谢，我们下次见。
再见。Bye.